wasting my time with too many reflections. Yeah. And since you've been gone, I've been trying to fix me. And I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm getting there. Lately I've seen you on television.
All right. Guess who's back in the house? G. Alpha Palmer here with a red hot mic. I am so glad to be back with you. It's been a while. Took some time off, did some things, had some things going on. But I'm just so glad to be back with you. Cheers to being with you one more time. All right. It's the Red Hot Mic with G. Alpha Palmer. And listen, we come to ruminate, elevate, and to activate. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And also, scrolling underneath is our contact information. As always, we have to toast to your wellness, which we've already done. I am so happy to be with you. There's been so much going on, and I'm excited about it. If you looked at the thumbnail, you see what it's about. You see that our title is the Katt Williams Syndrome. The Katt Williams Syndrome. Wow. It's been a lot going on in the media with Katt Williams, and we want to talk about it. We want to not just talk about it. We want to ruminate, we want to elevate, and we want to activate as well. So once again, thanks for being with us. I am so glad that you are. As we always do, I have a new scent, when I say scent, I have a new candle, and I'll be right back. Let's go with this. Let's go with this tonight. This is a new fragrance that we're gonna talk about tonight. I'm just gonna give it a little shout out before we do, as we always do. We go this way, and as usual, we always do homage to the individual who we think has influenced this channel tremendously, and that is Mr. Kevin Samuels. And we're going to get rid of the lights if we can. It doesn't want to work tonight, so I guess we're going to be stuck with the lights. Well, we can get rid of them, but we'll leave it there. But I want to give homage to Kevin Samuels like we always do. And our scent of the evening, our candle scent of the evening comes from Red Panda. Red Panda. I've never experienced this particular scent before, so we're going to experience it together tonight. Red Panda by Sanctuary. is our candle of the evening. Our scent of the evening. Our scent of the evening comes from Chanel. It's called Allure, Home Sport, and it's the Extreme. It's Extreme. So this is a new scent, and I want to share it with you. And let's see. Oh man, really nice scent. Really nice, clean scent. I think this is a kind of scent that it is a sport scent. So that means, for me, it means that you can wear this just about every day. It's like a scent that you can wear to work. It's not too powerful, not too strong, but it does give a very pleasant, masculine, and clean scent. You know, we want that clean scent because with that comes the idea that we are, taking care of our hygiene. Gentlemen, we have to take care of that hygiene and make sure that we're clean. And also, I just want to put on a little. I dropped it again. You can tell I haven't been around in a while. So let's see if we can get this top back on. All right. It's just a hand lotion. All right. So I'm really, really excited about being back. It's a new year. It's 2014, and I'm excited. Thanks for being with us once again. We do appreciate you hanging out with us on the Red Hot Mic. And, there's been a lot going on in the media. In 2023, there was a lot going on, and it's going to be a lot even more in 2024. And so what we want to do on the Red Hot Mic, as much as possible, I'm going to take this watch off. We want to be able to be on the cutting edge of what's going on, but not only what's going on, but to bring some balance, to bring some, not only balance, but to bring some, what I would like to believe is some important information, data, statistics, and some of my own thoughts about certain things. So make sure my tie clip. Here's I was receiving some emails and some texts and some DMs from some folks, and I was told that I dress like a old preacher, a preacher or an old pimp. Well, all I can say is this is my style. So I don't dress like the modern young folks because that's not my age. I'm going to dress the way that I'm comfortable, and where I grew up, a suit and tie was always appropriate, and so that's what we got on, and that's what we'll continue to wear. Sometimes we'll go casual with the ascot, but and then sometimes when we do our manhood moments, we'll probably be in something much more casual than what you see here. I'm really excited about what's going on because I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. It really does. And so what we've got to do is to gain understanding why things are happening and to accept them for what they are. And so, and see if we can gain from them, learn from them, grow from them, and that's the important thing. That's the most important thing. So I want to talk about what's going on in the media. I want to talk about what's going on in the media because what's going on in the media is basically telling us what's happening within our culture, within our society. And it's important for us to be able to gain a better understanding of those dynamics and how those dynamics play a part in our daily lives. So There's been a lot of uh, talk about the comedian Katt Williams. If you don't know who he is, you could look at the thumbnail, and we have his picture there. Um, and I want to talk about not him as an individual. I try not to talk about individuals because the bottom line is I'm a firm believer that the individuals that we see are a microcosm of our society. They are a snapshot of what's going on around us as a culture. So it becomes very, very important for us as a culture to gain a better perspective of not the individual, but how it plays a bigger role on our whole society. Now, when we start talking about Mr. Katt Williams, I mean he's been a comedian. I've seen Katt Williams stand up several times, on numerous times, and I would say that he's probably one of the cutting edge comedians. Some people like him, some people don't. I think that his humor is designed for a more younger crowd, maybe. But even with that, he is a gentleman who I think I should say he is an individual who has um, uh, roots in the baby boomer. I would believe in the baby boomer generation. I could be wrong with that about that, but it just in listening to him speak, it sounds like that would be more fitting for him. Now, I want to talk about not Katt, because Katt Williams um, is doing quite well, and he doesn't need any more publicity from me. But what I do want to talk about, and the reason why I want to talk about it, I want to talk about how that particular the the syndrome plays in the lives of um, boys, males, and men modern day. And it's important that we understand and begin to grow and to develop, right? It's important that we do that and matriculate as we move from stage of boyhood to malehood and from malehood to manhood. And as we continue to mature in our manhood, eventually moving on to seniorhood. But I want to talk about the reason why I want to talk about the importance of this particular topic is because we need to gain a better understanding of how the who, what, when, where, how, and why of our development as the masculine essence in this sphere and why that's important. Now, I talked about very briefly that when we are born as boys. Now, when we're born as boys, we're born as a blank slate. A boy is a blank slate, sort of like a computer that needs to be uploaded with different programs in order for him to function in this sphere. And so it's important that we understand that when a boy is born, he's blank. He's blank. And the things that come into real uh, contributions to his development are his school. Well, first, his parents, always parents. Very, very important. That's why it's important for a boy to have a masculine example. He has to have a masculine and a mature and a developed masculine example. If he doesn't have that, we'll get some of the things that we're seeing in our community, culture, and clan. So as far as a boy, he's a blank slate. And being a blank slate and needing to be uploaded with information, being uploaded with the developmental aspects, he needs to be able to gain a better understanding from key components, and that's parents, school. He also gets that from his community, his church, right? His friends. Okay. When I say church, I'm speaking of religion. Okay. And his society, the media, right? Whether that be television or radio or computer or internet or whatever, these are very crucial in his development. But the most crucial is parents. His parents. Okay. And as far as it goes as masculinity, his father. See, there's only one father. There could be a multitude of daddies. There's a lot of baby daddies. But there's a difference between a baby daddy and a father. A father, first of all, teaches, models, develops, enhances the masculinity in the boy. He helps teach him what masculinity looks like. Even from the initial stages of him going to the bathroom and learning how to go to the bathroom as a boy. There's so many aspects of masculinity that has to come from a father. Now, if the father's not there, what's going to happen is the boy is going to lack in some of his developmental processes. Now, some people say, well, my mother taught me everything. It's not possible for her to teach you everything as far as masculinity is concerned. If your father is not there, if your father's not present, if your father's not involved, then there's going to be some lack in your developmental processes. There isn't, and that's that. And how do we gain that? We'll talk about that in a few. But there's some things that has to come from a father. Has to. So when we start talking about the boy being a blank slate and him beginning to learn aspects of masculinity, because masculinity is the science of maleness. Masculinity is the science of maleness. The ITY means a degree. It means when we start talking about degrees of anything, we're talking about how something builds upon. Okay, how something scientifically is developed. So masculinity has a development to it. So it's important that we have that development. Now, here's what happens when we don't have a father present, and we are reared in a single parent home, and that single parent is our mother. Our mother, and this is not a put down, but a mother can't be what she's not, and that is masculine. She does not have masculinity. She doesn't have any degree of masculinity in her. Some people will say, well, she does. No, what happens is there's a difference between innate masculinity and masculinity traits. Okay? Innate masculinity is that which that it comes here with the boy. Even though it's blank, it has to be developed, because it is there, but it has to be developed, pulled out, developed, shaped, formed by the father. So until that starts happening, he is a blank slate until he starts gaining some development of what it looks like to be a part of the masculinity of this realm or this environment. So when a boy has a father that is absent, he's going to miss some things, no matter how good of a mother that he has. So when he is missing certain things, those things that are masculine will continue not to get developed. And what happens as a result, the boy begins to take on traits. And what are traits? Traits are learned behaviors that we have observed, we have heard, rehearsed over and over in our presence, in our ear, and we've eventually taken them on. And what happens is some boys take on effeminate kinds of traits. And that can be mental, right? Some of our boys think more feminine than they do masculine, because they lack the proper education and development in their masculinity as a boy. Who does that? The father, right? The father is the one that tells the boy that there's certain things that boys do and certain things boys don't. Now the mother can rehearse those things, but it is not innate. It is not genuine because she doesn't have that innate quality. Well, she says, well, look, I have brothers and my father. Okay, but you don't. You don't. So what you've done is innate. You have gained those traits from your brothers and your father, and you have tried to put those on your son, but yet at the same token, those traits still have a sense of femininity with it. It has to, because it's coming from a femininity energy, or feminine energy, and from a femininity science. So even though you may try to give him those traits, they're still going to come through a feminine kind of screening, if you would. Okay? And it's because of that when a boy eventually, hopefully, matriculates to malehood, even though he does matriculate to malehood, what we've done in our community, culture, and clan is we look at that as being something that's chronological. Okay, it's chronological. His age determines that he's gone from boyhood to malehood. Okay, now it's important that we understand some things when we start looking at what's important when we start looking at males, because males operate differently than boys. There's key characteristics that boys that don't have operate in because they haven't learned. And what they do is they begin to learn certain aspects of malehood through sports, right? Through interacting with boys their age in school, in their neighborhood, and through their friendships. Okay, so they start learning aspects of malehood, and some of these things that they learn in malehood are very, very important for us to understand. One of the things that boys learn is they learn that one of the most important things that they can use to get their way is force. Okay, they learn the importance of force. And that force becomes even more prevalent as they begin to grow. Okay. And as they grow, their feet and their hands, their shoulders begin to develop, and they begin to grow, and they begin to get bigger than their mother if they've grown in a single parent home. And if there is a father present, there is the young lion or elder lion kind of dynamic that takes place, where the boy begins to try his newfound force within the home, either on the mother or the father. And it's important that we understand that this will happen. That's why it's important for the father to be there in the home, because the father is going to be the one, not daddies, because daddies come from a different place. Daddies don't come from love. Daddies come from the perspective that you are challenging me and challenging my masculinity, and because of that, there's going to be the threat of violence. Because with that boyhood, or I should say malehood, and that daddy image, is going to come that challenge. It's going to come that challenge, and it's based on violence. But when it's a father, and that same force, or that same force begins to challenge him, the way that the father nurtures and helps bring about guidance is through love. That's my son. That's what a father loves his son. If you don't love your son, you're really not a father. You're really not a father. Okay? But a father loves his son, cares for his son, treats his son, and educates his son, and develops his son. But if a father's not in the presence, in the home, and see, I've had some comments and with some folks and some dialogue with some folks who and it's being with guys who are not in the home, and they say that they're equally as effective out of the home, in a separate home, than living in the home with the boy. It's not possible. It's not possible. When we look at people like Nick Cannon that has so many babies, I think it's like 12. When we have young men like that there's no way that you can be a father to all of those children, because when you're present with one, you're neglecting the others. There's no way that you can be a father without being present. There's no way. You cannot be a father unless you're present. That's why it's important for the father to be in the home. And I was in this conversation, and these men had some real issues with me saying that a son misses things when his father's not in the home. And their contention is that he can learn those things when he comes to my home. Well, the thing that needs to be taught may happen in the home that he's in with his mother, where what happens when you're not there then there's a teaching moment, a developmental moment that's missed. That's missed. So it's important that we understand that time of being with that son is critical. Now, when the father's not there and the mother's there, and the mother starts receiving challenges from the son, what she does is she attempts to thwart, she attempts to stop, she attempts to hinder his growing into his developmental process. And she said she sees it as a threat, because the boy is now stretching his masculine muscles, which is what's going to happen. And what the father needs to do is to help him understand how to do that effectively, properly, and lawfully. Now, if the father doesn't know how to do that, then the son is going to miss it, just like the father missed it. But if the son learns properly how to use that masculinity, he's more fit to move forward and to move into manhood. Now, when we start looking at developmental processes, there's areas that we have to look at. Okay? There's the mental area, there's the cognitive area, there's the physiological area, there's the psychological area, right? There's the emotional area, there's the intellectual area, there's the chronological area, okay? And then there's the, I don't know if I said it, but it's the philosophical area. I don't know if I said it. I just want to make sure. So these areas are areas that have to be developed in the boy's life. And what the father has to do is to ascertain and to observe where the boy is developed in these areas and how he needs to be shaped. Okay? Now, when we start looking at a boy that's in his physiological state, he sees himself beginning to get bigger, stronger than his mother. So the father has to step in there and show him how to properly to operate in that area. Now, another area is emotional. Now, if the father's not there in the child's life, he's going to again pick up the traits of his mother. Now, women, I should say, femininity possesses a high rate and a high level of emotional development, or I should say emotionality. And being that femininity is high in emotionality, if a man's not there to help mold and shape that boy emotionally, he'll take on the emotionality or the emotional stability or lack thereof of his mother. And so he becomes more emotional, as more feminine in his emotions than masculine. And what happens on the flip side of that, if a boy recognizes that, he begins to compensate and to go to the extreme of his emotional, where he is emotionally, I should say, and he becomes more misogynistic, right, or more chauvinistic. He begins. See, what happens is the pendulum swings more to the other side, where he was more feminine. Now he's going to go over into more alpha. Okay, more alpha. We're going to talk about the different areas of malehood as well. We're going to talk about the beta, the delta, the omega. We're going to talk about the sigma. We're going to talk about the zeta, and we're going to talk about the alpha. All those are different areas of malehood. But understand this: malehood is not manhood; it's malehood. In malehood, you need to develop in these areas, the areas that I talked about, the 8 areas that I talked about: emotional, mental, cognitive, and so on and so forth. And in these different areas of growth within malehood, the beta, the alpha, and all those that I just mentioned, we begin to develop in our malehood, or our maleness, I should say. And as we grow in our maleness, okay, as we grow and develop under the leadership and the guidance of our Father, he prepares us to move into manhood. Now, what's important for us to understand is this. In malehood, we talked about the importance of them realizing that force is important, right? The other thing that becomes very, very, very necessary or of great use for the boy, I should say the male, is violence. Now, where does he learn violence? He learns violence through the force. He learns violence because he learns through the things that he's experienced as he grows up, as he takes things from other kids, or he's forcing his will on other children. As he learns that violence gets him what he wants. Force is an offset. I should say violence is an offset of force. And so he learns the power of violence. That's when it becomes very, very important for the father to be in his life. And in so many cases, what happens is single parent homes, especially mothers, are begin to see they can't control the young boy or the male because of the violence that now seems to preeminate from him, because he now sees that he's able to get what he wants through the use of violence. So those are a couple of very important aspects that has to be used. The father plays an important role in helping his son develop. Now, what happens when the father's not in the home? What happens is, again, this male begins to move into the different areas of malehood. Now, one of the ways that he may develop is that he may develop and become a beta male. Now, the beta male is very, very passive, very, very feminine minded. He lacks the masculinity that requires him to take the lead. He's more of a follower. He's more of easy to get because he thinks more like feminine than he does masculine. He's more comfortable thinking more feminine and masculine, and that's because of how he grew up. Now, also we can also look at the omega. Well, I'm just going to mention these. They're not in any particular order, but I'm going to just go through them. The first is one that we always talk about is the alpha male. The alpha male is basically the one that I talked about earlier. He has the boss mentality, and he's more of a chauvinistic kind of over the edge male who resorts to his masculinity, and or I should say the force and the violence, his size, his strength. He uses his physiological development to get him what he wants. Okay, so understand this. I hear people talk about the alpha male, but you don't want to be an alpha male. An alpha male is not a man. He's still a male. It's already in the title. He's an alpha male. The next one is what we talked about, the beta. And some, he's really friendly. He has a high social IQ. He gets along in social surroundings. Because he's very sensitive to the needs of other people, and it's not that that's a bad thing. There's some aspects of the beta male that are useful, but the bottom line is there is a tendency for the beta male to be over feminized. Okay, he lacks the necessary masculine qualities that would cause him to be a leader in his community, culture, and clan. Okay, so then there's what we call the delta male, who is very he's self-reflective, very self-reflective, very very quiet, very very isolated, and very intuitive. Now, when we start talking about intuitiveness, is a quality that is basically more it's more physiological or psychological, and it allows him to go to a place that allows him to consider different things that may not be apparent on the surface. Now, there's some usefulness to this intuitiveness, very very useful. But when it's been influenced by a feminine mindset, it becomes very disjointed, and it becomes kind of shaky. So it's important to understand that intuitiveness needs to be based within a masculine framework. The next thing is the sigma. We call it sigma. And this is where people like Katt Williams is. This is where I locate Katt Williams. He's clever, cunning, he's persuasive, right? He thinks out of the box. Because he's able to he thinks outside of the box. He doesn't think he's a very good thinker that thinks outside the box, and he's able to come up with different ideas and plans. He's a goal-oriented person. He's a good time guy. These guys know how to have a good time and everything. They know how to lead you to a good time, but at the same time, the good time is based on what they see as being a good time, and you may not. But these are some of the stages, and if you look at it, some of these things within the framework of malehood, all these different aspects of malehood are useful, and they can help us as we matriculate to manhood. They are definitely helpful, different aspects, but there is definitely harm when we don't have the proper fatherly advice to help guide us and help show us how aspects in our malehood can be useful and certain things are not. Okay? Violence has its place, but there's places where violence doesn't have its place, and a father needs to be able to help guide his son through that minefield. And that's what it is. It's a minefield. And if a father's not present to do that, no one is going to take the care and the concern. I don't care how much a man says he cares about you. A man who's a baby daddy could never equal the care, the love, and concern of a father. Never. Now, some of these guys aren't fathers. Understand, some of these guys aren't fathers. But I'm talking about what a father is. A father cannot be surpassed in his love, his commitment and dedication to developing his son. Why? Because that's his legacy. His son is his legacy. And his legacy is important to him. Why? Because his legacy is his ability to leave his mark on our community, culture, and clan when he leaves. Okay? It's important that we understand that a son is the father's legacy. It's not the baby daddy legacy. It's not. It's the father's legacy. And that's why it's important for the father to teach the son, to help develop him in the boyhood stage, and to help him to matriculate through the malehood stage. And it's important for that because what we'll see is what we're seeing now in the media. We're seeing males portraying themselves as men, but they're not men. If you listen and you observe the 8 areas of development, you'll see that they're not developed in certain areas. Some are very emotional. Very emotional. Men do not depend on emotionality. Emotionalism is not something that we understand the importance of emotion, but we know that we don't operate by emotion. Men don't. We use emotions and we understand the necessity of emotion, but we don't use emotion or allow emotions to use us. Okay? But if a man is not there to help guide his son, then the son is going to become overly emotional like his mother, because that's who she is. Okay? Even though she may have some traits of masculinity. Okay, so when we start looking at some of the behaviors of some of these males out there, I'm going to say men, they're not men, we can see how they operate and function. And if you go back and look at most of their lives, I would say most of them come from single parent homes. And most of those homes were female led. Now, that's not to say all of them, because there are some that were led that had 2-parent homes. But then the question comes, was the father a male or a man? If the son comes out acting more like his mother, then we can dare say that the mother ran the household and the father did not. So he still didn't get the masculinity necessary. There are many young boys, there's boys and males that have grown up in 2-parent homes, but still do not have the proper masculinity development because his father didn't give it to him. Okay? It's important that we understand that. Now, what we're seeing in our media now is we're seeing it played out. We're seeing it being played out by celebrities. Okay? We're seeing it being played out. Now, one thing that we need to understand is when a male has fully developed in the 8 areas of masculinity and moves on to manhood, one of the things that you can identify about men do not go after other men. There's no need for it. There's no need for it. Men are in their own sphere. If he understands who he is and what he's supposed to be doing, he's too busy doing what he's supposed to be doing in his family and around his purpose. He doesn't have time to get into what you're doing. That's why I don't deal with men. So I'm not here for men as much as I am for boys and males. Okay? Men are supposed to understand these developmental processes. Men are supposed to understand that they don't get into confrontations with other men. That's what males do. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't protect ours. I'm not talking about that. But men don't go out looking for trouble. We don't. That's not how we operate. That's not how we function. We're looking to bring forth purpose and establish our legacy. I don't have time for what you're talking about or what you're doing. But you can tell when we're dealing with males that they are very argumentative. They are very, and I get people say, "Oh, you're a male." No, what I do is my goal and my purpose is to teach, to discipline, right? Boys, males, and to just help men in however way they think I can help them. But I get it all the time because I get these effeminate men, or I should say feminized men. There's a difference between feminized men and effeminate men. But these effeminate, or I should say feminized men, that have been brainwashed to think more feminine than masculine, and the effeminate just totally goes over to the other side to think that they are not male at all. The Creator has never made a mistake. Never. We make mistakes. But anyway, I'm going to try to keep these down to about 40, 45 minutes this year. And hopefully that we can continue to move forward and talk a little bit more as we continue to talk about masculinity in 2024 and how we're going to, as men, to take our rightful place, our rightful roles in our community, in our culture, in our clan. I am so grateful for you to be with me. And I would ask that you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And again, our contact information is underneath on the screen. And so until the next time we come together, Dr. G. Alpha Palmer saying, you are who you were meant to be.